on a political kick, I guess you could say. And I've also been on a literary one as well. A literary one as well. Because I've been reading a lot of Dorian Gray. Or not specifically Oscar Wilde. I have kind of been, as many people were and still are to this day, intrigued, captivated, perplexed with one Oscar Wilde, from what I can tell, based on other people's opinions of him and what I've read of his work so far. A man thoughtful, a man consequential in his times. He went to jail, y'all. I don't know what you feel about jail. Me personally, I've never been. Does not sound fun. It sounds the opposite of fun. Even in our darkest times, we are afforded the opportunity to grow. There's always opportunity to grow, even in the darkest of times. Oscuro, it means dark in Spanish. Oscuro. So cuando sientes como estás en un mundo oscuro, there's always opportunity. Oportunidad. We seize opportunity, don't we? We damn well have to seize opportunity. I've been listening, paying attention to a lot of NPR, staying informed with politics, and I've felt, I can't really describe it, I'll try. I've felt passion. Passion for my fellow people. There was a blackout date. I think I might have mentioned this in a previous video, but by an advocacy, a social activist group based out of Chicago, and I have been spending my money at local shops ever since, and I'm realizing how evil and twisted American capitalism is. Because they offer schemes to get you to eat there, and they prey on your feelings of poverty. You know, you think you're poor. Your bank account tells you you're poor. And you do your finances, and you realize you can only afford to buy the $3 coffee or the $1 coffee at these big corporate chains, and they know that. And so it's that cycle where you give into their bleh, and then it perpetuates this feeling of, oh, I'm poor, so I can't afford to shop at local mom and pop shops, because oftentimes they're on the more expensive side. But I'll tell you what, I bought this at a local shop, and I'm using it right now to make I'm working on a little something here. Well, I've actually been working on it. I had to take a pause and a break because I didn't have this, so I went to my local shop and I picked up. So different picking up crayons than it would be picking up marijuana at my shop. And another thing too, like there are days when I was spending upwards of $20 on food, and so I'm like, I can give that money to a local pop shop. It'll go. Those dollars would go more to them than it would to these big corporate conglomerates. And you want to know something, man? It feels great. It really does feel great. Boom, 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 boom. Shake it like a. I don't know. I mean, it does. It really does. And I live in the hood. The hood has a really bad reputation. It has a popular reputation for being something that it is, and fear is just boo boo. I don't like the idea of fear anymore. And I've been afraid of my home for a long time. I have been deathly afraid of making decisions. So, yeah, I feel great that I've been deciding where I'm gonna put my money in. And it really has felt great. More so because I'm confident about where I'm putting my money in. I'm not worried that I'm making a wrong decision there because I know I'm not. And so, it really can't be understated how good it feels to trust in yourself to make right decisions and good decisions. It feels fantastic. And these are crazy times, don't get me wrong. Like Trump presidency, you hear the way, what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene talks. I was sitting at one of a different local shop. There's a lot of places to eat over here. I think there's a lot of places to eat just in general. I was sitting at one of my local coffee, not coffee shops, but I was grabbing some sushi before I headed out to work, and I was watching Marjorie Taylor Greene on the Senate floor talking about how immigrants are criminals, and she was painting with a very large brush because she had to paint with a very large brush, psychological bullshit and shit. And I just was sitting there, and it felt totally wrong for me to be agreeing with her on anything like that, and I wasn't. Like I wasn't. It was a vibe to be sitting there as a brown Latino watching this blonde, blue-eyed, white-skinned woman talking about we need to get these immigrants out of here. I'm sitting in my shop with a bunch of immigrants, you know what I mean? And so I just kept having this vision of of a social activist thing to do, which would be to have her on a screen saying that stuff while all me standing in front of like a group of Latinos who are immigrants, just kind of with our hands like this, dressed in farm gear, just dirty. And then I would say we're not criminals, and meanwhile she's doing that stuff. And then people on the right wonder why we're comparing them to Hitler, like why we're comparing this regime to the Nazi regime. I would say what's needed now, as it's always been needed, is compassion and understanding. Because things aren't black and white, things aren't easy at all. And I gotta control my outrage to a certain extent. To a certain extent. I was reading something by Oscar Wilde, and like, I'll pull it up right here. I actually have the book right here. And the reason why I say I need to control myself is because I want to be a virtuous person, and there's something here that made me think of that. So I'll read it here. Well, here's okay. So this was a book given to me by my therapist, and it's called The Epigrams of Oscar Wilde, and it's basically a book of some of his most memorable sentences, because he was the conversationalist. And so, men become old, but they never become good. Um, I sometimes think that God, in creating man, somewhat overestimated his ability. Uh, let's see. No man is rich enough to buy back his past. This one was from A Woman of No Importance. It goes, man, poor, awkward, reliable, necessary man, belongs to a sex that has been rational for millions and millions of years. He can't help himself. It is in his race to be rational. The history of woman is very different. We, and this is Mrs. Albany saying this, we have always been picturesque protests against the mere existence of common sense. We saw its dangers from the first. This one is from The Soul of Man Under Socialism. The evolution of man is slow. The injustice of man is great. Um, which is interesting, because he says, one is tempted to define man as a rational animal who always loses his temper when he is called upon to act in accordance with the dictates of his reason. Um, a man who moralizes is usually a hypocrite, and a woman who moralizes is invariably plain. Uh, so it's the dichotomy. He basically, well, at least before he went to prison, he was a champion of the hypocrisy. Well, not a champion of the hypocrisy, but against hypocrisy. Um, the importance of being earnest. Cecily says, a man who is much talked about is always attractive. One feels there must be something in him after all. And when I read that, I thought of Trump, because I obviously have been very vocal about my dislike for him. And so I'm like reflecting on myself after reading that, a man who was talked about, because notice Oscar Wilde in his book, The Importance of Being Earnest, uh, he has this character named Cecily, hablando de hombre. He says, a man who is much talked about. And that doesn't say good man, it doesn't say bad man, it just says a man who is talked about is always attractive. So, good or bad, I guess. So, Hitler, you're very attractive. um, and he's just a pretty interesting person. And I'm reading his book, The Picture of Dorian Gray, and I'm in chapter 2, closer to chapter 3. Not there just yet, though. Page like 33, I believe. And he mentions about fear, uh, talks about influencing a person. And man, it's just wild to think that that book was written in 1870, maybe in the 1870s, somewhere around there. I'll say 1873. Um, and like, the older I'm getting, the more I'm realizing just my perception of time is changing. Like, as a kid, you felt like the 1980s were just the furthest thing away, and now I'm 31. Happy birthday to me. And I'm just like, oh yeah, 1870 wasn't that far away. Human history is full of caprice. It's full of changes, and they're unexplainable. Caprice, I learned that word today too. I had to look it up. I've been having to look a lot of words in this book that I've been reading. It's crazy. And I've been doing the same thing in Spanish too. Pero en español, I've uh, I've been writing, and funny enough, I've been writing on the back of a list of Oscar Wilde's shorts. I'm on an Oscar Wilde trip, all right. And this song that I've written, uh, it's called "Para los Desilusionados." Y I'll just say it goes, ya, estás hablando, pero no más. No quiero escuchar que existe esa paz de la que hablas. Somos en la sinceridad de realidad. Aquí hay estómagos que sufren de hambre. Me dices que se lo merecen. No escucharé. Me has perdido. Te digo, fíjate conmigo. Desilusión, 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 desilusión. Que caiga esa ilusión de paz que uno mismo ha creado. No te servirá. En la sinceridad de realidad, hay personas que nunca dejarán de robar, nunca dejarán de tomar y le quitan a la gente. Es paz, no hay razón. Ah, en paz no hay razón. Tienes miedo de hacer algo significativo. Y eso es todo. The thing about canciones, escribir canciones, es que siempre puedo poner palabras en un papel y quiero hacer algo más con mi inspiración. ¿A dónde fue mi... Ay, ay cabrón. ¿A dónde fue? Estoy buscando mi... No mi lápiz. I don't know how to say pen. Mi fecha. ¿Dónde fue mi pen? Oh no. I'm gonna... Okay, there it is. Found it. Another thing that's been on my mind that I've been realizing is that I've grown out of my current living situation. It's served as my womb number 2, and it's starting to get to the point where I need to move on. So it's kind of scary because I don't have the means to move on just yet. So I'm still having to live inside of this cramped space that can no longer hold me or serve me. Which on the face must sound terrible to think in such in such a narcissistic way. It is truly how I feel. And more than wanting to get out of here, it's a desire to realize my full potential. One of the reasons why it's less than easy is because it's not supposed to be, one. And two, well, I have a lot. I have a lot going for me. And you would think that it would make the process simpler to do. Undoubtedly, people would rather have more going for them than less. I find it to be horribly frustrating. I'm not someone who trusts himself to make decisions often, and I second guess myself in everything I do. It's not an undesirable quality to have, by any means. And I know it's only a matter of time. The thing about time is, I can't control time. Time is gonna move at its pace. What I can't control is my sense of urgency. So let's have a sense of urgency. See, at last, my love has come around. My lonely days are over. I am quite happy that I am purchasing more from local shops. It feeds the local economy. Do you ever stop to think about another's consciousness? When I am out and about in the world, I have to, because I'm afraid to get caught, I have to catch myself. Otherwise, I will be enthralled with this person. It could be anybody. I look at someone and I get lost in my thoughts about what it might be like to be inside of their story. It's a reason for me to desire fame, to desire being a celebrity, because they become parts of the background of everyone's lives. And I can't think of anything more beautiful than that. The problem that I run into when I find myself desiring celebrity is I think about the people who are jealous. Jealous people do some really messed up stuff. And so I would rather inhibit myself for fear of someone's jealousy than to live my full life. On the face of it, that's just wrong. And I also need to realize I am who I am, and if I'm someone who's capable of achieving something so sought after by people, I can't be afraid of it. And I think I would be a good celebrity, funny enough, because I have compassion in my heart. And not only compassion, I also can sympathize. I can put myself in their worlds and imagine why they must feel the way they feel. And if I'm feeling confident in myself, then I can trust that I'll be able to handle any crazy situation I might find myself in. Because smart people tend to be crazy. It is truly the uninspired who live peaceful lives. Truly the uninspired. As I've been talking this whole time, I've barely managed to add to this little flame that I've been doing. I don't know if you care to see it. That's my little stick figure right there. And he's saying, so this is basically a balance. And the two stick figures on the side. One of them is trying to rebalance the board in the middle there with optimism. And so the thought bubble or the speech bubble right there, it says doing. O en español, hacer. Y este stick figure acá, um, hay una palabra, letras aquí en su cadera, en su área de cadera y se dice unfair. Y su speech bubble se dice struggle, to struggle. So you have these like very heavy feelings of unfairness and struggling weighing down one side of the balance, and there's a fire on this side of trying to balance optimism, and that's supposed to be lightning. And I don't know if you were able to see it, but like in the middle of the triangle, it says hope. So you gotta balance hope with these things, cause well, I mean, cause you can't just keep on talking about Trump. It feeds his nature, and it also didn't matter that Obama was in well, I shouldn't be so reckless with my speeches, my thoughts, my speeches, um, but like immigration was worse under Obama and Biden, and we don't know why that is. The other thing is, if you're gonna fight, you can't fight oppression with anger. It doesn't work. You have to fight oppression with kindness and caring and compassion, because it is only then that you open the door up to the possibility of understanding and connection, because awful people like that only want to lash out. They're a shooting star. They're a fading flame. It's gonna burn. It will pass. It's just we gotta do our best not to get that burned. How long have I been going? 30 minutes? That's not bad. Picture of Dorian Gray. It's a book about aestheticism. Aestheticism? That's a weird word to say. Aestheticism. 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 He's very much about beauty for the sake of being beautiful. I've never considered myself to be a beautiful man. And funny enough, the character of Dorian Gray is also someone who doesn't consider himself to be a beautiful man at first. It isn't until Lord Alfred Henry Wonton influences him. And it's kind of funny that he does, because before he influences him, he tries to warn him about influence. He ends up influencing him, and when he's confronted about it, his response is like, I didn't influence him. He's like, if he's acting different, it's only because that's who he really is. I think about Trump, and I think about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then I think about Aosui and my people, and how we are on opposite sides of the spectrum here, and we're both pointing the fingers at each other, and we both have righteous indignation on our side, which must mean it doesn't exist. And it's hard to believe that, because it's like, okay, well, you have ICE over here deporting people. You're making it harder for us to get along because you're so righteous. And the other side is saying, well, you're crazy. And it's like, yeah, smart people are crazy. And then they'll hear someone say, oh, smart people are crazy, and then they'll just use that as license to be crazy. It's like, no, if you're just crazy for the sake of being crazy, then you're just crazy. You're not smart. Today was a hell of a day. I went to the coffee shop, spoke with the black man there, talked to him about history and civil rights. Then I went to work for a bit. Earned a little bit of money. And I said to them, actually, to go back to the coffee shop, I said, it's been a welcome change for me shopping locally more and more, because it's given me a sense of independence. I'm choosing where I spend my money, and I'm choosing to invest it in other independent people. All the while being mindful of the fact that everyone gets to choose how they live their life. And just because I'm living mine in this way, and I think it would be good for most people to live their life this way, it would be unrealistic to think I could change people just by saying so. By simply asking them to, or even trying to force them to. It just wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, is what I'm saying. Ooh. Very nice. Very, very nice. They come pre-sharpened. That's cool. I've opened up the colored pencils, ladies and gentlemen. I've opened up the colored pencils. Desillusion. By the way, what did you think of the song that I was premiering live for you? Desillusion. Desillusion. It means disillusion. The inspiration being just my father would much rather have me be a good housewife. It's like he would want me to just go to work and then come home every day, do the same thing every day, work, come home, waste away on the couch watching TV, sleep, wake up, go to work, eat, repeat. It's like I can't. As much as I would want to. And trust me, I would. It would be a much easier life. Assuming you could time it perfectly. Because see, to live that kind of life, you need to, you're banking on the fact that no one's going to come and take that life from you. You don't think so many people in Nazi Germany were living that life until Hitler was like, yeah, well, now we're going to change things up. I mean, Ukraine, you don't think people in the Ukraine were living that kind of life until Russia was like, yeah, well, we're going to come and take it now. It's like, that's not real peace. It's a numb state. It's a numb trance that we put ourselves in because we're scared and we're traumatized. Desillusion. And it got really heated. I raised my voice. I raised my voice a lot. I got so upset because he still thinks that I can do that. He doesn't really know who I am. He doesn't see me. And that's why I got upset. And I would say that if I want him to see me for the man that I am, then the only way to do that is by being an activist, by showing up to these places and maybe doing some good. I'm a, I'm a, I think I'm an Oscar Wilde type, where if you meet me and you talk to me and you engage me and you're open to what I have to say, you're taken away with me. Much in the way people were with Oscar Wilde. If you're not jealous. Because you could also do all that stuff and then be jealous of me. Which is what I fear. I fear people hurting me. And that's why I need to be an armadillo. An armadillo. Shout outs to the armadillo for having that hard shell, baby. Hard shell. Great hard shell. It's not not translating well. A very, very hard shell. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the future. I'm not sure how fast the future is going to get here. I venture to say the slower the better. Only because then it becomes a manageable speed where I can work at. But also, I don't want to be afraid. And I won't be afraid. And so, bring it on. Bring it on, Capitan. Bring on the madness, the craziness. Bring it all on. Is what I say. I say, bring it all on. Because you never know. You never know just where the flower turns. What is he saying? Boy's crazy. I just can't live the life my father lives. I just cannot. It would destroy me. Quite literally destroy me. No exaggeration. Today I also did something that I've never done before. Shout outs to me for continuing to break these walls down. I visited for the first time. You ready? The Watts Towers. I've lived here all my life and I've never visited. That's trauma for you, baby. It made me think of Maxine Waters. It made me think of all the history of civil disobedience. The government is going to be shutting down on March the 12th. And I'm going to do something to commemorate it because I believe that the government should shut down. And so I was wondering what to do, and I can make a sign that says support government shutdown. Could definitely do that. And then I can be waving that sign with other people. I just don't know. I haven't found my group yet. My clique. I need to find them. And I've been trying. And I will continue to try and strive. Because this is a worthwhile venture to undertake. No, no, no. And I think it would be good to meet up with other people. And we could be rebels together. Maybe meet the love of my life there too. You just never know. You just never know. The possibilities are truly endless. The possibilities are endless. Baby, baby. Oh, the possibilities are endless. You don't believe me, but it's true. These possibilities are endless. And so are you. Yeah. Don't be jealous, people. Especially don't be jealous of your kids. That's just irreprehensible. I'm tired.